episode 115 of the podcast. This week we're talking about the safety policy that I implement with my customers and how to talk about making changes when you're talking to customers who are used to you doing things a certain way. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. How do we present changes to our customers when we make a change in our policy? So this was a great question that I got this last week. Yeah, anyway, I got this recently from a groomer because I encourage everyone to have a safety policy. So first, in this part, we're going to review what that safety policy is, because that's really going to be the key to helping us get our owners on board with what needs to be done and to work on a behavior case instead of being in a I need to get this trim done mode. So without making it sound like we were unsafe in the past, like how do we implement this without making it sound like, no, now we're being safe because we have a safety policy, but before we were just willy-nilly doing whatever. So when a dog isn't able to handle grooming procedures, I recommend that we slow down and work on the behavior issues and let go of the idea of a perfect trim today. And that's why I approach my customers with a safety policy. And we discuss the safety policy before we book an appointment. It isn't a reaction to a behavior problem. This is something that they are exposed to as the way I run my business. And they sign it. I'm not playing around. It's important to me. Because honestly, working on behaviors that are never ever going to change and just pushing through and trying to do groomings on a behavior that we aren't even working on sucks my soul. I can't do it. I used to do it and I did it a lot. And then I was like, that's part of why I became my own boss. Is honestly, I was like, there is a better way. So let's discuss the safety policy, which I discuss it here and there over and over on the podcast. I'm pretty sure it's episode 1 also, but I'm going to put it here, exactly what I have written out for my customers. If you want to use it, cool beans, use it. Come up with your own version. It's not a legal document as much as it's a let me tell you how I proceed. So here it is. To provide the highest level of care for your pet, we have a safety policy. If at any time your pet gets nervous, anxious, scared, aggressive, or even overly silly, we slow down and help your pet to be comfortable and calm. It's very important to us that the pets in our care are kept safe and stress-free. We use sharp tools and need to prevent injuries. We will work with your pet to help them feel comfortable. This will build a great experience for successful groomings for your pet's lifetime. Your pet may not be groomed to perfection today. We will charge for the time we spend working with your pet. Any thoughts? So some of you have heard this before, but others, it might be the first time you've heard that. And it can bring out some knee-jerk reactions. But it is the policy I have in place for my customers. And it's a conversation starter. And what kind of conversations? Oh my God, so many conversations. Okay, so let's talk about conversations with owners first. One very common response I get is, how could he get hurt? Like they have no idea. Guys, we have to talk to our owners and let them know that we've been wrestling a dog while we're trying to get stuff done and that it's not safe. We know it's not safe. They really have no idea. Another common one from owners, he won't bite you. Like they honestly think that the only safety issue is if their dog bites. Or, this one's a good one too, just as common, just muzzle him so he can't bite you. Again, they think that that's the only safety issue involved is if their dog bites. And we certainly know that is not the case. Now, here's another one that I hear really often. Oh my God, I hear this one really often. And groomers, this is why we need to educate everyone around us, because I have had my vet say this. I've had other dog pros say this. Why would you put sharp objects near my dog? Wow, right? Talk about like such a common thing that we do that they are unaware of. And when we start talking about that, that's when we can explain anything that cuts hair is sharp. Like there's no safety scissors. These aren't like the scissors they give kindergarteners to do crafts with, right? If it cuts hair, it's sharp. And all of our tools for cutting hair have the ability to nick something, right? That's the nicked ear with a clipper or with shears. Like any of those tools could be sharp. And asking us to use that while a dog is flailing around or trying to bite us is unsafe. So it's an opportunity for us to talk to people about what we're using. And you'd be surprised how many people ask that one. Now, then the response is awesome. Well, often, awesome. The response is often, well, why can't you just use clippers or ball tip shears instead? As if those are safer. And I understand where they're coming from because, they're thinking, well, the clippers. I mean, I've gone to the barber and clippers didn't hurt my head because you're not flailing and shoving your ear into the clippers, because you're not using your hands and trying to push the clippers away and nicking your fingers with them, right? That they don't understand. And the ball tip shears. So ball tip shears, that can be really handy around a little area, like around eyes, but they still have a cutting edge. So now they're not stabby, they're just slashy. More tech talk. But yes, it could keep you from being really stabby. However, a dog flailing around really hard can stab themselves pretty easily with those, even though they're ball tip, right? I mean, it's not like they aren't pointy. So these are some of the things that we need to express. And when we put out a safety policy, these are the kind of questions that owners have. And then it moves on to questions like, what do you mean he might not be trimmed to perfection today? And that's a good question. They don't know. We need to explain to them, like, listen, this is the way we're now doing things. So let's talk a little bit more about how do we express this new safety policy without owners thinking that we've always done it this way and now we're being unsafe. Like, wait a minute, does that mean you were unsafe before? Owners are going to want us to continue to give them what they want. We do kind of live in a customer's always right world, except that in this case, our customers don't understand the grooming process and they don't know what they need. They think they know what they want, which is this grooming to be done today. We can't continue to give them what they want. And hopefully that's what my listeners are getting, is that maybe it's not in their best interest. Maybe it's not in our owner's best interest to give them the perfect trim today. And this is how we're going to express that. Like, listen, this dog is not learning to be good for this. This dog is not having a good experience. And we need to be able to help this dog settle down and understand how to do this, because this is a part of life. This is regular health care for your dog. Whether we do it or another groomer does it or the vet's doing it or they're doing it at home, this dog has grooming needs that are going to continue throughout its lifetime. And why are we fighting dogs when we could be teaching them? So when we present it that way, sometimes that's enough for owners to say, okay, I think I'm on board. Are you saying that there's a way to make this better? Yes, I am saying there's a way to make this better. So you will hear things, but you always have. You've always done it this way. Why can't you just do it this way again today? Now what am I supposed to do? I hear that one too. Well, now what am I supposed to do? I mean, I have to get him groomed. And I understand their panic. This is the owners. They're kind of panicking. Or maybe a coworker or a manager or an employee, but he has to be groomed. Look at him. Just look at him. Oh my God, he has to be groomed today. He looks a mess. Calm down. Calm down. Your dog is not ready emotionally or training wise to go through the whole process today. It didn't happen overnight, so it's not going to get fixed overnight. Dropping him off at 8 a.m. doesn't mean that we have enough time to fix it today. So it's okay to kind of express to owners, this is going to be a process and it's going to take a little bit of time, but this builds a solid foundation for good behavior in the future. For a dog who isn't afraid of this every month for 15 years. Imagine going through something that you find frightening every month for 15 years. Once a month, we're going to go to the snake room and we're going to play with snakes, and you're terrified of snakes. But we're going to do it once a month, and eventually you'll figure it out. Is that the case? No, probably not. Some might figure it out, and others are going to become far more sensitized to, oh my God, it's snake day. So we can talk to our owners about that. We can talk to them about it doesn't have to get done today. Now, here's another one that owners will say, and this is really good conversation, right? We need to be educators in that moment. Another one they're going to say is, you know, he'll never be good for it. Can't you make an exception? He's never going to be good for it. He's been like this for years. He's 4 years old. He's already been like this for years. Nobody else has been able to get as close as you have so far. And just make him perfect for me because I need to feel like I'm a good owner who gets him groomed and I can't let him look ragged and whatever the case may be. Take a deep breath. Calm down, right? And think about, but he can be good for it. That he's never going to be good for it is because what we have been doing hasn't been working for him. If he has not improved, then what we have been doing hasn't been helping him. And that's pretty much a straight up answer. And that'll make him think, well, what do you mean hasn't been helping him? Well, we're trying to help him be comfortable with it. We're trying to help him feel safe with it. And we're trying to help him be good for it. And we're trying to keep him safe from our equipment. And eventually, what we find is that if we take a behavior approach and we start trying to teach them to be good, the behavior that we do want increases. How cool is that? So actually, pushing him through that trim is the reason why he's always been bad. And that's hard because that kind of implies that we've been doing it wrong. But you know what? Here's the thing. And this is really important. I want you guys to think about, we're going to present a safety policy. And if it's new for you or whatever in your shop, and this is kind of a new idea, just do it with one customer and see what they do. But present it as, this is some new information that I am implementing for you, for your dog. This is good news. This is exciting news. This is new stuff, right? Put some sparkle on it, right? Sell it. New and improved Colgate, right? New and improved safety policy. Now we work on behavior problems instead of tormenting your dog with clippers, right? And we don't want to make it sound like we've been tormenting dogs with clippers, but think about it as a perk and help owners understand, like, hey, I was listening to a podcast, or I saw a webinar, or I was at a trade show, and then I went through and I thought about it for a while, and I spoke to other groomers, and I spoke to my vet, and I spoke to a trainer, and we kind of came to this new conclusion that this is the way we're going to try to address behavior problems in my grooming setting. Because you know what? The end of the day, the dog on your table that you are grooming is in your care, and you're responsible. You are responsible if that dog gets hurt, in your care. You're not necessarily responsible for if his trim is gorgeous. I want gorgeous trims. Guys, I'm not saying let go of making something pretty. I want pretty. You know what? But when the behavior is there that allows me to do pretty trims, that's when they start getting pretty trims. And that's part of why behavior is so important for our owners to understand, is that, we're trying to put a pretty trim on a moving object that's sometimes being hostile toward us. And they know, ask them, how is he when you try to clean around his eyes? Oh, he doesn't let us do that. Yeah, exactly. Let's help him be good for that. So he's not coming in with like huge honking boogies next to his eyeballs that we're trying to peel off before we can even get in there and maybe try to trim, right? So if we are thinking about, I've added a safety policy, I have decided to make some changes to make progress with dogs that really I didn't know we could make. Now, you guys might know that we can make progress, and maybe you knew that long before you heard this podcast, but I'll tell you, there was a time when I didn't think we could. I wasn't always the groomer I am today. I wasn't always the trainer I am today. And some of us are still in that, the mythos, if you will, of, hey, I think that they really should have learned this when they were a puppy, and this dog is just bad, and this is the way it's going to be, and this is just who he is. And I've been there. And then over time, I heard information and I gathered new information and I researched and I said, you know what? Dang, if it ain't but true, we can teach them. We can teach them to be better. And because of that, that's how I run my business. I insist on working toward teaching them to be better. And if they want me grooming their dog, then that's what we do. And if they don't want to do that, I feel bad because maybe they didn't completely understand. Because I'll tell you, the customers who totally understand it, yeah, they give me a chance. Absolutely. And when I tell them, hey, we made progress today, right? That they have to hear about progress too. So you can't just like, well, we did our best. Here he is. Sorry, I couldn't get that lip, but we had a safety policy. Also present them with what progress we made. And that's part of how we can talk to customers about a safety policy without making it sound like we've always been unsafe before and now we're just not putting up with crap. Even if it might be what you feel in your heart of hearts. Again, there's a reason why I'm self-employed, is that there was just a point where I was like, no, I got this dog to trust me. And now in the last 5 minutes, you're like, yeah, but can't let him go home looking like that. Like, why not? So betraying the trust that I had built up the entire grooming. And it just was this continuous cycle because I was working with people that I couldn't quite get on board. Now I'm going to say that was the late 90s. So I still think it's kind of crazy that this is stuff that we're still struggling with in the grooming industry right now and in the training industry, because the training industry has forgotten about grooming in many, many ways. You guys have forgotten that dogs have grooming needs. and it's more than just, let's spend 2 months teaching them to let us trim one nail, right? Like they have significant grooming needs, some of these dogs. So when we talk about the new policy, sell it as a perk. Talk to them about how it helps them, how it helps their dog, how it reduces grooming costs over the years, how it helps at the vet's office, how it helps them take care of their dog. That if we can teach them to be good for this stuff, it's just in their best interest. And we're the expert who knows how to. Ooh, even better, right? It places you as the expert, the most up-to-date expert who has a solution set and is really excited to help them with their dog.
If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends.
I was trying to come up with examples of other times when I've had to change a policy. And, really thinking about how did I express that to my customers at the time? How did I tell them, like, I know I did it differently before, or maybe I taught you something different before, but here is some new stuff. And I think that's really the way we have to kind of present it. Like, I am building on that and doing something new. So one of the examples, again, I wasn't always the groomer and trainer I am today. When I started working with dogs, it was choke collars, prong collars, alpha rolls. Yeah, I was that girl. Alpha rolls and dominance theory, which is entirely outdated now. But there were times in my career where that's what I was teaching. And then an owner would be like, hey, we got a new puppy and we've been starting to work on our choke collar, and we haven't decided if we want a prong collar yet or not, but we've been working on the choke collar and working on heel, and when she gets stubborn, we alpha roll. And I'm like, oh my God, no, we don't do that anymore. Right? And they're like, but you taught us that. Like, I know I did. And in lieu of new information, because I have learned something new, let me tell you how that can backfire sometimes, because I'm trying to prevent problems you're not even aware of. Now, in lots of cases, that's one of the things I'll tell people. I'm trying to prevent problems that you're not even aware of. Like, I don't necessarily want to walk you down the road of all the various things that can go wrong, but if there's a way to do it with minimal amount of new problems cropping up, then that's the one I'm always going to choose, right? I don't want new problems cropping up for you. So that was a good example of I changed the way I do things, and then later on again, like I was a clicker trainer in the mid-90s. And when you were doing the clicker and stuff, then I kind of phased out the clicker. I started becoming a SATS trainer, which is Casey Cover and Synalia training systems. Basically, we're still using reward markers, but it's not a clicker. and it's not a treat every time. And there are some really interesting, neat things about it that are different. But my owners are like, "Yep," and I've got the clicker and the cookies, and I'm like, "Okay." And I don't train that way anymore. And let me show you about something new and exciting. And that's the way I've always approached it, because you know what? Especially the customers that have like worked with me with different generations of dogs, which is so exciting. I don't know if you guys are at the point in your career yet where you have owners who are like, you've had like 2 generations of their dogs or 3 generations of their dogs, but it's so much fun, like to have owners that are in your life forever. uh, anyway, but when I have something new that I'm teaching them, now my customers are like, "Oh, what's new?" Right? They know that I'm all about like reading the books, going to the webinars, doing the continuing ed. Like they know that I'm looking for the newest, latest, greatest. And not just like little buzzwords. Like I don't latch on to everything that comes by. But if I find something really interesting and exciting, yes, I am going to implement it. I'm going to find a way to. So when I started switching from clicker training to this other version, you know what? I like clicker training, just that my clickers started collecting dust. I just stopped using them because I wasn't relying on that method anymore. It just slowly got replaced. And my customers like it. So when you think about implementing something new, you have to be able to tell a customer like, "Oh my God, no, this is new and exciting, and I think it's going to be much more effective for you," right? Instead of the way we were doing it, which was actually pretty good. Like in that case, we went from like clicker training to SATS training. Clicker training's kind of nice. I like clicker training, right? And they don't feel all that dissimilar to customers, but there are some things about it that I was able to say, "I think that this is a new and exciting version that will be helpful for you." And that's the difference. It's not for me. All right. And we need to express that to our customers when we change our policy or when we implement something new. Right? So another example, and this example, I mean, I don't have because I'm house call, but I know a lot of shops where they're like, "You know what, we're switching things up and we don't want dogs here all day." And owners are like, "Excuse me, I work. I have to drop this dog off in the morning and pick him up at 5. This is just my life," and that can be really hard to sell to somebody that, "Yeah, but your dog doesn't really do well here all day," as an example. And then there are others who are like, "You know what? We want your dog here all day because your dog does not do well if we try to rush him through a groom. Your dog can't handle that anymore. He could when he was young, but now he's old and I want him here all day." So when you think about the variety of things that we can change, it's always about putting it through the lens of, this is here to help you. I want to help you so that your dog can be his best. So your dog can be okay with this, so that we can make progress. And we choose to make progress, and we are going to tell them about the progress that we make. In my opinion, every time we're grooming, we should be making progress. Every single time. There should be some moment where you realize, "Okay, you know what? He was much better when I came around to that 3rd foot. And then he was really a pro for the 4th foot." Right? Like that, there are times when we're measuring out what's going on. Like, you know what? But by the end of the morning, when I put a dryer next to his neck, he was good for it. So yeah, we spent extra time, and yeah, we charged you for extra time. But we also made progress because he's allowing us to put the dryer next to his neck, which is a step closer to putting the dryer next to his ear, So we need to think about the way that we present progress. Now, here is another example of some policy that I had changed. And, the thing is that I'm not trying to lecture about ear plucking, but I'm going to use it as an example. But ear plucking is a big debate in the grooming world. And owners are going to hear another groomer say, "Yes, absolutely, we pluck ears." They're going to hear me say, "I choose not to, and let me tell you why." They're going to hear some veterinarians say, "We don't think you should unless in certain circumstances, and let me tell you why." Or they're going to hear other veterinarians say, "What kind of a maniac doesn't pluck ears?" So it's a big debate out there. But when I chose to make a change, the way I expressed it to my customers is, I heard something new information, and it made a lot of sense to me. And I looked into it more, and I talked to other groomers, and I talked to my vet, and decided that I am going to implement this with my own customers because I am ultimately responsible for the health and safety of the dog while they're on my table. And I don't need to be the one who plucks your dog's ears. If you really insist on doing that, go for it. I mean, doesn't take a degree to pluck dogs' ears, right? I learned how to do that when I was in high school working at the boarding kennel. Nails, ears, bath. Yeah, I was 14. You do not need to have any sort of a veterinary degree to pluck ears. You do not need to have gone through groomer training to pluck a dog's ears. If owners want to do it, they can do it. So I kind of let it go that I don't need to be the one to do it. But the way I expressed it to my customers is that I heard some new research, and it made a lot of sense to me that I may have been contributing to more and more ear problems by plucking every ear no matter what. Maybe I was making ear problems worse. Maybe I was causing ear problems, right? And I choose to not be part of that right now. And my customers were okay with it. So, and I will tell you, if you're kind of in that questioning group, like, I don't know, part of what sells it now is that I tell my customers when I made the switch out of my own small clientele, because I get new customers who are like, wait, you're not going to pluck my dog's ears? So I tell them when I made the switch amongst my own small clientele, which of course is a small clientele, I'm house call. I don't have the kind of numbers that grooming shops have, right? I spend part of my day driving and setting up and taking down and packing up. But I told them I noticed that not one dog developed a new ear infection. Interesting, right? Some of the ear infections that were already there, that they've had for years, that are chronic and ear problems that are always ongoing, some of them stayed the same. Not one got worse. No dog's ears got worse. And I had a good amount of dogs, a large amount of dogs, whose ear problems went away. And that to me was very telling. So it means to me, and this is how I express it to my customers, it means to me that in my small little grouping of dogs, my small sample of dogs, I caused no harm by not doing the ears. No one's dogs got worse. No new ear infections happened, but a handful of dogs that had never had their ears plucked anyway didn't develop anything new. And a bunch of dogs that always had ear problems, their ears healed up. So to me, that leads me to believe I was doing some harm. So I choose not to do it now. And when I have new customers and they hear that, they're like, interesting. Okay, well, I'm going to ask my vet about that. But yeah, you can go ahead and skip doing the ears today because I'm going to ask my vet. No, I will say, and again, this isn't about lecturing about ear care, but it's such a common experience for us to like have to switch something for a customer, right? Like, okay, this is the way I'm doing things now. And I want you to be able to relate that to when you change your behavior policies, when you're like, you know what, this is about safety, and own it the same way you would for like a flea policy or for ears or for anal glands, like own it. Like, no, this is in light of new research, and I'm responsible if I make your dog worse. So if we're looking at behavior, that's the way I approach it too. Like, I'm responsible if your dog gets injured on my table, even if it's because he bit the scissors. If he bites the scissors, no one on the internet is going to care that he bit my scissors. They aren't going to care if he bit me. They're only going to care that that tongue looks like it got boo-boo. He got boo-boo tongue, and let's, burn our house down, right? Like, it goes crazy. So when we talk to our owners, like, this is about the safety of the dog that I'm taking care of. And this is my profession. This is my career. And this is the choice I'm making for my customers. And I think it's an exciting new choice. I think it's going to be great for your dog. But don't let yourself feel like it means that you were doing it wrong before. Let yourself off the hook. Like, nope, this is just new and exciting, and I heard about something new. I gave it a great deal of thought. I talked to other colleagues, which also tells them that you didn't just like, I heard something new. I saw something on TikTok and went ahead and did it. Like, we need them to know that you have researched it. You've taken some time. Like, is this the way I want to do this? Is this how I'm going to pick my shampoos? Is this if I'm going to use, if I'm going to shave down a double-coated dog? Like what kind of choices am I making and how do I present those? And you need to add behavior to those too. And I think that for a long time, the grooming world was like behaviors about for trainers, or thinking that nobody does it because dog training is just about walking on leash in circles and practicing sits and stays, which is a obedience class setup. But that's certainly more, they certainly do more than that in an obedience class. But that's what you're thinking about in terms of like an obedience class. Yeah, how would that help? Because there's so much more to training than just obedience classes. And that doesn't mean the person running obedience classes can't help with something about grooming, but find out. Yeah, find out. Like, hey, how can we get on board with helping this dog be good? But for a long time, groomers are like, that's not my job, except that they're learning on our table. The dogs are learning about grooming on our table. So part of it becomes our job. Part of it becomes our life. And I want the dogs to be safe. And I want to make progress with them. And when you express it to owners, so many owners are like, wow, that's pretty cool. Because owners don't even know that we have conventions and webinars and like, what? You guys like talk to each other? You know, you guys have certifications? I've heard that one too. There are certifications for dog grooming? Like we wash puppies. Yay, I play with puppies all day. So express it to them as I've researched it. I've talked to other people in my field. I'm looking at what others are doing as their best practices. I've spoken to a veterinarian or two or three, and present it as new and exciting for them. And that's really how you're going to sell it. So it's not like implementing a safety policy has now said that what you were doing before was unsafe. It means I'm choosing to do stuff that I feel is safer and letting you know how unsafe it was, because I really didn't know that owners didn't understand this. And it's okay to add that too. I didn't know that owners didn't understand this. Owners didn't know we were using sharp objects. What did they think we were doing? Nibbling it off with our teeth? I mean, like grooming them with spoons? They don't know. So some of this is just you learning more about your owners, as well as learning more about how to help the dogs. And make it exciting, and that's how you sell it. Just make it exciting.
If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy at happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you.